of you know that it is thanks to the love and support of this community that we were able to build a village for special needs children out in Tanzania. That village now provides a safe and loving home to nearly 200 children that were living in crisis. Most of these children are special needs, but a lot of these children were homeless, and the majority have no parents or guardians in this world other than the family that this community has allowed us to create. Everything that we do is made possible thanks to partners, those who choose to partner with our family and with it make everything that we do possible and keep our doors open for the next children who need some help or a safe and loving family home. If you'd like to hear more about our partnership program, you can do so by visiting www.sharetanzania.com/partnership. Thank you for all of the love and support, guys. We couldn't do this without you. I have been carrying a physiological malaise the last month after contracting an unusual virus here in East Africa. And so I hope that my presentation is coherent, and I am feeling the weight of being unwell is why I caveat that as I open. I hope all of you are in good health wherever you are in the world. And I wish to speak into a topic that I believe all of you will have heard about. The world is a stage, a saying that the majority of us have heard, and yet the depths of understanding what is being pointed at with that phrase seems to be absent from the understanding of many. We are fed a profoundly narrow bandwidth of information via the mainstream media, via the mainstream media's broadcasting upon the internet and televised, and now the echo chamber of human consciousness, which is ultimately the resharing of mainstream stories within inside our social media networks. The information that is echoed and the information that is brought forward sometimes knocks on the door of the topic of the world being a stage, but it does not open with any depth into the spiritual foundations of it, shall we say. Alongside that, I am certain that most of you have heard what have been deemed conspiracy theories, that some of the world leaders that we have transgender wives, and their wives are not openly transgender. They are in the public eye, but they are being accused of being transgender whilst keeping that a secret. Michelle Obama is one such woman where this has been shared and echoed throughout humanity through the echo chamber of social media. Celebrities have said it on camera.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
And there is a lot of footage that has moved around and so on and so forth that accuses or shows at least something abnormal that may point to the notion that Michelle Obama is a transgender. At present, Brigitte Macron, the wife of Emmanuel Macron, who is ultimately the head of the EU, is suing Candace Owens for repeating an investigative journalist piece and a book that speaks about Brigitte and how Brigitte was born a man, excuse me, and the state is hiding that Brigitte was born a man, and nobody understands why. Emmanuel Macron and Obama both have this allegation against them. And right now the allegation is in the public eye as Brigitte is suing Candace Owens for defamation. I wish to speak into the motive, for these topics become profoundly confusing for those who say that it is conspiratorial nonsense. They would not understand why that would be. For others who feel that it is not conspiracy, still the motive of such a deception is out of grasp for many. And you see, the problem is that we are not a species that is founded purely on the basis of the energetic potential of deception. We have, as a species, actually leaned towards punishment for deception. We disagree with it. We find the results of it to be unfavorable and unpleasant and something that we do not want in our lives. But what if sentient life of another form found deception to be worthwhile of worship, for it was necessary for their survival, and therefore they glorified it. Not only did they glorify it, but they wished to add as much of the frequency body of deception into the human story as possible. I wish to speak to the motive. There is a 4-hour documentary which is very compelling called Becoming Brigitte, which has many questions to be answered and certainly leaves the viewer feeling that Candace is perhaps correct, that Brigitte was born a man. Now Obama and Emmanuel Macron are both liberal leaders and would have no reason to hide these topics. Now also at the same time, if these topics are untrue, it would be very unpleasant to receive that accusation against you. However, if the topics are true, what on earth could the motive be? What could the motive be of this deep need for deception to be present inside the mainstream consciousness of humanity? Last week I observed a caterpillar with markings that made it look like a snake. It had an antenna that protruded from it that looked like a forked tongue of a snake. This beautiful creation relied purely on deception for its survival. It relied on shaping itself as something it is not to survive inside this fallen world of ours. What if other species, sentient species, advanced as we are or more so, have encountered a scenario inside the world whereby deception allowed they to survive in this eternal dance of reality? There are a multitude of foundational energies to give birth to life, and deception in the animal kingdom is one. What if higher intelligence embraces deception as something beautiful and necessary for survival, such as that caterpillar that I mentioned? What if we as humans, as vessels that can be influenced by every spectrum due to our malleability and adaptability of foundational energy, can accept these frequency pools of deception or love or truth into our organism to allow us and our intelligence to be animated by those frequency pools, those potential energies, which we have called spirits, usually in historical language. These codes of truth, we can embody them. These codes of healing, we can embody them. These codes of deception and lies, we can embody them. The motive for deception in the manner whereby the current case that is occurring with Brigitte, if it happens to be true, if you see the documentary and feel that there is some truth to it, where is the benefit to the European Union, whose headquarters is designed on the Tower of Babylon? Where is the benefit for the leaders of one of the largest possible states and civilizations on the planet to have this frequency of deception whereby the leader is being accused not only of being with a transgender wife, but hiding it, but also that that wife is actually related to him? Such a behavior is a very abnormal frequency. The union between two parties in that way that choose to be in that state of deception is a frequency of a profoundly rare type. And with the creation through human action and intent and speech and behavior of these very rare frequencies within inside reality, interdimensional forces, demonic forces that are in need of these rare frequencies so they can anchor here, have a benefit to that deception. The demons of the other dimensions, the fallen ones, the more abnormal the frequency of deception, the more unusual the scenario, the easier it is for those beings to anchor and attach to those distorted, broken, untruthful wavelengths, frequency patterns, geometrical eminence of these unions and these behaviors. Emmanuel Macron is only the head of state as he is due to Rothschild. And Rothschild is in charge of much of the planet's economic situation, created the state of Israel, has influenced the world greatly. Hitler deemed, despite the atrocities and the abomination of his actions and the Nazi Germany actions against innocent men, women and children, the speeches of Adolf Hitler are available in AI English, and you will hear that he was speaking persistently against the Jewish banking cartels that he felt were eroding his society. Those cartels used trickery and skullduggery to attain their positions of power, much like the caterpillar that I mentioned that avoids being eaten by a bird through deception. So before I go further, let me point something out. The world is a stage. Every single US president is related to a historical, not current, English king, bar one. Every US president is related to the former King of England. I forget which king it is, I will put it in, bar one president. When you understand this, that king was involved in the US receiving its independence. The lineage was involved in the US receiving its independence. The US became a corporation, not a monarchy. That's why it has a president, like any corporation has. Rothschild took control of Europe and the UK Bank of England, as during the Napoleonic War, Rothschild, who was funding both sides of the war, sent messengers to the final battle And at the final battle, they dispatched carrier pigeons back to London that arrived with Rothschild with the message that the British had beaten Napoleon. When they received that message, they sent agents out into the London Stock Exchange and began to sell and behave in a manner that made it look as though the Rothschilds had insider information that Napoleon had won the war. This created a panic, and people began to sell in that panic, and at the same time Rothschild was waiting to buy pennies to the pound the UK. And within the space of 48 hours, Rothschild family became the most powerful and wealthy family in all of Europe, as they used deception. They tricked humanity into believing Napoleon had won the war, leaned the stock system in one direction with their agents, and then bought it up for cheap. This is historical fact. And as Rothschild said, the best time to buy is when there is blood on the streets. Rothschild is the signature on the Balfour Treaty that created the State of Israel. The State of Israel, when it was first created, most of its hospitals, most of its schools, its government buildings were either fully funded or partially funded by the Rothschild family. So this family understands that deception in this reality, without judgment, was a frequency code, a pool of energy that they had allowed to embody them, and they had benefited greatly from doing so, if you deem benefit to be material wealth, power and riches. Rothschild is not something that we should overlook. Macron joined the Rothschild Bank, and his colleagues say he excelled despite his lack of acumen, that he had very high-level connections that they did not have access to. And it was through this that Macron became a partner in Rothschild's bank within 3 years, starting as a banker, becoming a partner in a rapid, fast-track manner like nobody else had done before. Rothschild has connections in spaces and places that we are not quite grasping. And I don't often like to single out families, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. However, the scripture also says in Revelation that in the end times there will be those who call themselves Jews but do not behave as Jews, and they will be called the synagogue of Satan. Well, Rothschild also, which for many will be unnerving, but in the 90s, I believe it was, Trump was going bankrupt. And it was a Rothschild banker who had worked for them for 26 years, who restructured Trump's debt, insisted that his name stay on the casinos and the like, and saved him from bankruptcy. So Rothschild raised up Emmanuel Macron. Rothschild bailed out Trump from becoming bankrupt with his bankers restructuring his debt. Rothschild created all of their wealth off the back of deception. Rothschild created the State of Israel after the World War through the Balfour Treaty, and built the Israel that we know today. Clearly, Israel and Mossad have a horrendously powerful influence on the US and the UK and Europe. And all the while we are being told that for unusual reasons that no one can quite grasp, that we have a leader in charge of the EU whose wife is actually a biological male, born a male, and they are hiding that from humanity, and nobody understands the motive. They just say they are perverts or they are demonic. But the motive, if it is true, is the frequency. The original, abnormal, bizarre frequency connection that they create. How many other places in the world does that energetic connection and frequency exist? How many other places in the world has somebody's male relative transitioned to a woman who is some 20-something years older than them and is now married to them and presenting themselves in front of the public as if they are biologically female when they are actually male? I would presume that there is only one existence of such a frequency combination occurring at this time. If there is any truth to Obama, you have a very similar topic. So what does this mean for humanity? Well, it means that we perish, as God told us, "My children perish for a lack of knowledge." Rothschild became rich through deception. They survived in the way by which they want to survive, through deception. The same way the caterpillar that looks like a snake does. So deception has become an energy source that they are welcoming into their vessel to animate their intelligence. It has become their friend. Rothschild raised up Macron, who became the head of the EU. Rothschild rearranged Trump's debt to keep him out of bankruptcy, and he is now the president of the US. Macron is said to be with a biological male pretending to be a woman, and we have no understanding of motive as to why that would be. The motive is by creating the deception with success. The sub-demigod of deception that they are worshipping, which is ultimately a powerful, sentient energy, which is not God, it's not the creator of all, it is a fragment of infinite potential that they are molding and harnessing, and they are telling that fragment of infinite potential, you can challenge the all. You, through deception, can challenge the creator of all who gave birth to you. You can be the one with dominion. We need to feed you. We need to feed you along with those you have alliance with. We need to feed you with deception. We need to feed the eminence of deception into the ether of reality. We need to feed fear and suffering into the ether of reality. Excuse me. For the fallen, feed upon all of these energies. And they do so as they have used them to survive. And as they have used them to survive, they have become their God. And the humans who have used them to survive, it has become their God. But the father of lies is Satan. And the God of this world is Satan. And the God of this world who lies and deceives wants deception. For the more deception there is and the more humans believe it, the more energy is fed into the potential energy codes or that pool of energy of deception, so that it is ready to rise and ignite inside any other intellectual being. Maybe even you or I someday it hopes to attain as a being that has survived on deception instead of truth, that has garnished power through deception instead of truth. If these stories are true, that will be the motive of the cult. The cult are systematic, and nothing is done without causality or reason. And much of what they do does not serve a purpose only in this reality, but in the dimensions beyond with which they are in communion with. The deception that we are under has made humanity a species that is so in love with that which it can imagine that we will kill for it. And so all these deceptions and distortions, they must become a topic for each individual human. I have distortions as a human that may affect the way that I present information to another. If I can surrender those distortions, my communication will be pure, as it will be without any taintedness from fear or self-interest or deception or anything of that nature. And therefore our internal distortions must be that which our awareness turns towards. If not, right now, if an advanced, intelligent species arrived with us, who is unified with our Creator, with the timelessness of the living God, they could come here and sit me on their left side, and they can sit another human on their right side. And they can say, why? Why are children, men and women, being killed at present in the area you call Palestine? Why is that happening? And they can ask one human who hasn't as yet separated that which is a thing versus that which is a creation of human thought. Israel is a creation of human thought. It is born off the back of the creation of human religion. And religions all stemmed from some human being back in time having a direct spiritual experience, supernatural in nature you may say, and trying to bring that experience, which is always fragmented and without time, without space and matter, and bring it into some sort of coherent linear format, as our language system has a beginning and an end, and bring the eternal, which is timelessness, the presence of God, into a linear system for others to understand. All our religions began in that way. And Israel began off the back of humanity or fragments of humanity believing upon what was created in those religions. Therefore, that human can say, well, Israel is doing it to defend themselves, or Israel creating a genocide, depending on where the person is in their energy. And yet I would be able to say with absolute clarity, Israel is not a thing. Humans invented it with their thoughts. Therefore, they are killing each other over images inside the head of humans that we have passed like a virus to one another. We pass these images to each other so much for so many generations that we forget that these are concepts that we have invented. They are not a thing. A tree is a thing. Breathing is a thing. My hand is a thing. The ground is a thing. Clouds are a thing. They have names, yes, but without a name they still are. Israel must be created by human imagination, using human technologies such as paper and pen and so on and so forth. Therefore, it is not a thing, it is a creation of human imagination. And therefore we, in our distortions, are so deceived that we deceive ourselves. And in deceiving ourselves, we kill people because of images in our head that don't match or gel or find unity with images in another's head. And images in our head will never find perfect unity with image in another human's head. It will never come to pass because they are founded on separation, because they are thought. And here, in the presence of the living God, here and now, the potent cosmic energy that recharges our vessel and fills us with the vitality of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit, can be absorbed and pour into ourselves when there is no thought. And our energy field, which keeps records of our behaviours, has no prevalent distortion towards malice or harm to another. There we can refuel. But the moment I begin to speak about that process of God charging my energetic body, filling my body with the Holy Spirit, the very moment I begin to describe it, I begin to separate from it. For all conflict is born from separation, and all separation begins with thought. Here, in perfect stillness, all humans who meet will meet in an open-hearted resonance and will find common ground, even if it's a meager smile, or a touch, or a warm embrace. All humans can gather of any faith, religion, and if there is a blanket ban that you must all dress neutrally, and you must not share any images or thoughts, you must only connect with one another, there is a nearly 0% chance those humans, unless they have some possession going on or they are already too far gone, lost in the maze of the mind, that they will start a war. They won't start a war as they are unified over the commonality of, hey, my eyes can see the light in your eyes looking back at me. It is only when a human starts to say, the light looking through my eyes believes this, that the separation begins and the conflict begins and the wars begin. The fallen ones believe in distorting humanity's perceptions so that we continue to embrace separation and conflict. And there are those beings in our world, like that sweet caterpillar who uses deception not to be eaten by a bird. And we can respect it. And we understand that it is part of that eternal dance of light and dark, as I recently heard. Yet when a human says, I must use deception to maintain a position of extreme wealth, power and authority and control, for that is the only way I want to survive, deception loses the beauty that is held in the caterpillar. For now the deception is not about survival. It's about the image of survival in a sphere of attainment, of opulence, which is far above your fellow man. And that means you must lie to the minions to have your elevated status. And there is no justice in that. There is no justice in saying the energy of deception that the caterpillar uses to protect itself is now being embodied by humans so they can maintain an extremely high level of power in the planet. And yet, it is working. And they are doing it. And they are involved in these satanic cults. And we can see it. And we know it. And you can see that there are parties that are infiltrated, such as look at what is happening with the Epstein situation. Look at what is happening with the P. Diddy situation. Both with connections to Mossad. Ultimately, that's nothing to do with Zionism or Judaism. I'm all for any people to have their own land and country. May that happen without war, suffering and pain and agony. But when we say the state of Israel, let's remember whose baby that is. It is Rothschild who signed the Balfour Treaty. Rothschild who raised up Macron to become the head of the EU. Rothschild who bailed out Trump when he was going bankrupt and kept his name for the public benefit. Rothschild who took over the UK and the European financial system through deception and open fact. What we are talking about are those families that are closest to the fallen. What we are talking about are every US president being related to one UK king, bar one president, that is. What we are talking about is the world is a stage. and you would do best to retract away from the mainstream media and allow the one teacher and guru that can guide the life of any man, woman and child better than anyone. And that is the awakening of the presence, the spiritual rebirth of the human into the awakening of the presence of the living God, of the Holy Spirit, of the guidance of Jesus Christ, of the beauty and truth, of clinging to truth no matter what may come. And I salute all people who put themselves in harm's way of our corrupt legal systems and so on, in the pursuit of truth and justice for the masses to see the reality, for the masses to have exposed to them that we have within our world humans who worship deception. And we have within our world sentient life that is not human, that have used deception, shape-shifting, hiding, to survive whatever historical threats they may have faced. And as such, instead of there being a winner or a loser, which is something I heard just yesterday, it was so eloquently put to me. Instead of there being winners and losers, there is just this eternal dance of light and dark, of deception and truth. And during my chapter of life and yours, we have chosen to say, may truth reign supreme for this chapter of humanity. Or at least may the passion for truth be instilled into humanity and its children, so that deception may not continue to go unchecked. Because meticulous, organized, orchestrated deception in service to the lower astral, the demonic realm, is a part of the human story. And the boundaries of that deception goes far deeper than the boundaries of the goodness of the majority of humans' imagination. I shall leave it there. God bless, guys. Be well.